Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for this special New Year's Day episode of Trade the Chain. We are coming to you, and we're also going to have another special episode later today on some important pieces of news. One of them just happening now, breaking as we come on the air. I always wanted to say that. I'm joined by CJ, our crypto analyst from MarketRebellion.com, as well as my co-host with the best hair in crypto, Ryan Gorman. And now I'll let Ryan do his little legal disclaimer thing before we go to the shameless plugs.
Just a friendly reminder that all information and content provided by Trade the Chain is for informational and educational purposes only. This is not investment advice and should not be construed as such.
Oh, and I will add before we pull up the plugs, our weekly Bitcoin winner will be announced in the next episode for today coming up. So it won't be in this one. You're going to have to listen to the next one to hear who the winner is for this week's $50 Bitcoin giveaway. Go ahead.
Find out who. Can't wait to find out who. Trade the Chain is brought to you by Trade the Chain, a 24/7 community of crypto traders around the world in 17 time zones, sharing ideas, thoughts, and successes. They also take advantage of our best-in-class sentiment dashboard, social media analytics, and SIG dev alerts to make more informed trading decisions. To learn more, visit tradethechain.com and give us a 14-day trial.
And moving on to the next product, Market Rebellion Crypto. This is also an elite community of traders from all around the world. And now that we are just over into our first month, we have well over 100 members in the community now. But if you want to join, what you'll get is trade insights from not only myself, but our other analysts at Market Rebellion, including Matt Montemayor. We also have a macro crypto portfolio for over the course of 21 through 22 over the course of the rest of this bull market. We made some new allocations just this week. So if you want to go check those out, as well as get crypto education from myself 24/7, you can sign up for just $1 for the first month. And you can find that at marketrebellion.com/crypto. So trade ideas, macro portfolio, for just $1, you can sign up at marketrebellion.com/crypto. But getting into Bitcoin now.
Which, by the way, we hit a new all-time high this morning, so it was very exciting.
Happy Bitcoin high day.
Yeah.
Not quite 30K. Not quite 30K, but we did get to a high of approximately 29,600, as you can see, was our high. So what's going on with Bitcoin right now currently is that we're in a very similar state to a little over a week ago when we had hit the same sequential CEL 9. So as you can see, we're pulling back a little bit. The CEL 9s have been a catalyst for bullish price action. So kind of in our community on this 8 yesterday, we were looking for a retest of, or not a retest, but a test of the psychological support level of 30K. We didn't quite get that, but we did have some nice bullish price action. Now we're pulling back, and as you can see with this down arrow here, once we come down from that green sequential 9, I do expect a couple days of maybe a 5% pullback, maybe 10% at the most, but then a couple days of kind of neutral to bullish consolidation before another leg up into the 30K, 40K price range. So what I'm going to be looking at is potentially a correction coming in the next day or two, or honestly just throughout the next week after we experience this green 9 candle. And I'm going to be looking to pick up some altcoins for cheap, because typically what will happen is if Bitcoin sells off only 5 or 10%, usually the alts will get scared and will go down about 15 to 20%. One of the ones that we will talk about aside from just Bitcoin is DOT. And last tangent I want to mention before passing it off is the fact that Google Trend data for the term buy crypto is increasing quite steadily. Retail is coming. They are coming. And you can see exactly what happened in our previous cycle. But the altcoins like DOT and like Link and ETH are going to be prime targets for this retail money that continues to flow into the space. All of those traders that CNBC has been making fun of over the past year or so, calling them, quote, Robinhood traders, once they see the opportunity in crypto, my assumption is that they will pile in. This chart will go even more parabolic, and we will see a lot of capital flow into not only Bitcoin, but the altcoin market collectively.
Looking at Bitcoin real quickly before moving on, earlier this week, the number of people or entities or wallets holding more than 1,000 Bitcoin, called whales in the space, hit an all-time high on Wednesday of 1,994. The last time it was even close to this number was 2016 when they hit 1,969. Is that part of why you think the, not necessarily a correction, but the retracement will be kind of mooted compared to, pullbacks in the past?
Yeah, I was expecting a larger pullback even here when we were at $22,000, but it didn't come. And I was a little bit surprised because of that. And I think that is due to those large whale wallets, because they're not selling in the interim. They're not derivatives traders who are just pushing the price around in the short term. They are long-term dedicated holders. And considering we had a corporation such as MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor buying $500 million of Bitcoin at a price of 21,000, well, that puts in quite a nice sell floor. Now, when we also pair that with the concept that there is a further shortage of Bitcoins being held on spot exchanges, that causes the price to go up even further, because this is like another way of saying exactly what you're saying, Ryan. A lot of those whale holders are taking their Bitcoins off of exchanges, and there's leading to a shortage of actually Bitcoins being held on spot exchanges for retail. So all of this sets up for some very interesting bullish price action down, throughout the rest of this cycle in the next 8 months to a year.
Another thing I wanted to ask you about, there was a story making the rounds earlier this week about how Bitcoin's market cap surpassed that of Berkshire Hathaway, whose CEO Warren Buffett famously called Bitcoin rat poison squared. I mean, comparing Bitcoin to Berkshire Hathaway just doesn't seem like a like-for-like comparison. What does this ultimately mean in the grand scheme of things? Is this just the nothing burger and people dancing on nothing, or does this actually have significance?
I think people just maybe if you feel a little bit salty about how Warren Buffett called Bitcoin rat poison, and now ironically Bitcoin is worth more than Berkshire Hathaway. I mean, yeah, I can understand how some individuals were like, oh, look who's talking now. But the reality is that these assets are not comparable. You can't compare a commodity such as Bitcoin to just a stock and a company such as Berkshire Hathaway. And Warren Buffett didn't participate in the .com bubble, but that doesn't make him a bad investor. He's sticking to his arena of competency, and that's exactly what you should do as an investor. But yeah, I mean, this not really that significant. Just kind of a fun fact, I guess, for Bitcoin maximalists.
Well, I think, going back to that chart with Google, whoever ranks in the top of those searches for buy crypto is going to be the real people making out with this bull run. I mean, who knows? Maybe Michael Saylor, with all the Bitcoin he now owns, should start an exchange as a side business.
I can tell you, I can tell you, I know one of the firms that rank at the top, eToro. Their SEO is incredible. They're the top result when you search for buy crypto.
That's good for them. They're going to be raking it in. On to two hot topics that have been of late, and that is Polkadot, tickers DOT, and after that, we're going to hit up THETA, tickers THETA. These two have shown, some real fire as far as market movements are concerned, and Polkadot does not seem to be losing all that much steam as it forges ahead, and a lot of believers behind it.
Yeah, Polkadot's in an interesting state. Very optimistic for this asset throughout the next year. A lot of interesting people. Obviously, Gavin Wood, one of the co-founders of Ethereum, is behind Polkadot. Personally, from a market standpoint, You can see we're getting a nice little pullback on this green 8. Bitcoin is selling off a little bit right now as people take profit off of this parabolic run-up. Personally, I'm looking to grab DOT at kind of some of these support levels if possible. It might not go all the way down to those, but these are the levels I'm looking at, 7.5, as well as 6.4. I'm not sure it will go down that far. Might have to ladder in a little bit earlier than that, but those are the primary targets I'm looking at for support. And then if we want to go over to the actual Trade the Chain dashboard, Polkadot has performed quite well. Our relative tweet volume is up 285%. We have a 71 overall bullish sentiment. Anything you guys want to mention here with DOT?
I mean, I think, first of all, I would love DOT to go down to, the support levels that you've been talking about, because I'd love to pick some up. Obviously, you see a lot of the sentiment data on the bullish side over there, but also there's a lot of chatter on the street, a lot of believers saying, hey, this is going to be $30, $50 soon. And, there's no looking back. So I personally am feeling positive about this and sort of along the same belief lines as you, CJ.
Same. I picked up some this morning. Let's see. I'm excited. I bought that mini dip.
I'm buying DOTs right now, man.
Yeah, that retail army you were talking about in the Bitcoin trade with social media, not the social media, the search analytics. Seeing that surge there. It's only a matter of time until we have Dave Portnoy going, I got the DOT, guys. I'm the DOT man. I got the DOT.
Remember what happened when he bought Link?
Yeah.
This is what happened when he bought Link.
Yeah, and now my Link, which is sitting in my account, can't get out of its own way.
Sounds a lot like Voyager.
Seriously, look at the funnel there. I mean, it can't get out of its own way. I think it's the Portnoy effect.
Portnoy bounce.
Let me just show you something real quick about that widening mouth. This is where we may be with Link right here. We may be on like a 5 or 6, ultimately to actually maybe accurate price levels. Anyways, this is a classical charting pattern. As you can see, that's maybe where Link is kind of beginning. That's why I've had that highlighted for quite a few weeks now, but we'll see. Interesting.
Huh. All right, THETA, got to give a plug out to our good friend Rob over at Digital Asset News. He's a huge THETA believer, has a video channel over on THETA, and he has been supporting this, THETA since it was in the sense, and now look at it. This thing has had a run up, unbelievable. Platform debuted sometime in September, and it has just taken off.
Wow.
That's a pretty chart.
Really is.
Yeah, I mean, what are the technicals looking on this, and what can we draw out of the chart for THETA?
Well, the technicals are still somewhat neutral. I mean, we hit what would have been a green 9, which have been somewhat characteristic of a correction, at least in the couple prior days to follow. This parabolic uptrend is quite impressive, but judging by like THETA's previous price action and the market conditions overall, I definitely can see this asset continuing to go up. I mean, we might see a slight correction or pullback here with Bitcoin and the collective market in the next couple of days, but the fundamentals of THETA being a platform similar to YouTube, and then having T-Fuel as the token that powers that platform, I think it's attractive fundamentally to a lot of people. And the more people that enter the space throughout the course of this bull market, I expect THETA to continue to do well. So while we might see a pullback to potentially this previous support level about 170, I still am bullish for the token overall. I'm jealous that Rob got in so early, but I applaud him for this nice trade, nice investment.
I want to point out some indicators real quick on the sentiment data of this coin, because they're wow. So the THETA token itself, is up. Relative trading volumes up 262%. Relative tweet volume 198%. It's very bullish on the long term. It's bullish on the daily. It's 30-day price change, 231%. Unbelievable.
Wow.
This is a winner. I guess we're gonna be asking Rob to buy drinks when we all get out of lockdown.
Be taking his jet to drinks, and then
all right. We're going into the last segment of today's New Year's Day show, and it's a discussion. We got two companies here. We have Celsius and we have Voyager. Celsius, the CEL token, has been really unstoppable from a momentum perspective. And it's just below its all-time highs for the year, for the trailing 12 months. But its community is rallying behind it so hard. And at the same time, we have Voyager and their VGX token, which is taking a slightly different path. But let's go with CEL. I mean, are we looking at a possible bubble top here, Ryan and CJ?
I mean, I think CJ's third guy to ask about that. It looks like a classic top, but what do the fundamentals tell us?
Yeah, well, the fundamentals of Celsius have been relatively strong, and don't get me wrong, this is pretty clear that it is a bubble, and I do believe we will get a large correction at some point. But we are on a 9 here. I could see price pulling back in the next few days, but overall, I just think we're too early still in the overall market cycle with Bitcoin. I expect Celsius to increase and continue this overall bull trend throughout the rest of the course of the bull market. But I do believe there will be a significant pullback of 20 to 30%, because while Celsius may be very bullish from a fundamental perspective, price does have a tendency to get ahead of fundamentals in many cases. And I believe that goes for Bitcoin as well. So we'll see what happens here.
I mean, that's a beautiful chart, but I think you're right in terms of it being in a bubble. Do you buy that dip, though? Do you buy that 20, 30% drop?
Well, it depends. That's probably one of the most difficult questions to ask. Do you buy the dip? How do you distinguish between just buying the dip and the beginning of a new bear market? And typically what I look for is the trend to put in a lower high right here at 12. So if we see this 20% correction, yeah, I would potentially be a buyer. But if we cannot create a higher high above this 10 points, then it's more likely that we're going to go down and correct. So,
if you look at the dashboard, long-term sentiment is very bearish right now. We have a neutral daily, and it's coming off of that nearly 120% 30-day change price increase on the token. So, from a sentiment perspective, it's looking like it's going to be entering a pullback at some sort. But who knows? I mean, there we go, right there, sell. So we'll figure it out. I just don't know what the underlying, relative value of Celsius at a certain level becomes. But it's in the belief of the community, I suppose, in the long run. Okay, now let's go to one that I consider to be a parallel to Celsius. Very similar type community, has similar products, to a degree in its array, and that's Voyager, ticker Vgx. Now, I'm bullish on Voyager as a company. I'm bullish on the team. I feel like VGX won't get out of its own way, but I know that there's some opinions on the difference of tokenomics between Celsius and Voyager and how they handle things.
Yeah, and I think that comes down to incentives and understanding who actually holds the token. Obviously Celsius Alex Mascioli, as well as his wife and people very close to the project, are the largest token holders of Celsius. But I don't think the insiders of Voyager hold Voyager token in that same manner. So they don't have a greater incentive or an equal incentive to increase the price of the token. And so to briefly explain the tokenomics of Voyager right now, in its current state, if you hold over 10,000 Voyager tokens on the platform, you get a 1% interest boost. And there's a lot of people I know who hold only 10,000 only 10,000 Voyager tokens just to get that 1% interest boost. However, under this new token model that they want to implement in the next month or two, that would essentially be removed. And anyone with over 25,000 of total crypto in their Voyager account would automatically get that 1% interest boost regardless. So fundamentally at that point, there's really no reason to hold VGX. I cannot justify a fundamental investment in VGX under that tokenomics system. Now, the team at Voyager has listened to the community because there's been a lot of negative criticism of the newly proposed tokenomics system. Steve and the team did respond on Twitter. They said, we're going to fix the tokenomics of the system, and hopefully price will benefit the token holders more. Now, if we were to take a page from Celsius, because Celsius tokenomics have been working very, very well. We were just praising the token, how much it's gone up. And I think if Voyager implemented a system like this third box I'm highlighting, it would be much more beneficial for VGX, the actual token. And that's the actual concept of lower interest rates for institutions. So when Voyager, when they lend VGX and other cryptocurrencies, one of the institutions that they lend that crypto to is Galaxy Digital. So Galaxy Digital, essentially being a cryptocurrency bank, will lend out and generate interest based on that lended crypto, and then give a percent to Voyager in return. But obviously, there are certain cryptocurrencies which have better incentives to lend and borrow for institutions like Galaxy Digital. If you have more liquidity in a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, or there's more desirability, that's why you have a higher interest rate as a result. But if Voyager were to implement some system similar to Celsius, where they're not only incentivizing retail clients to hold it, but also institutions who actually deal in these lending markets, that would be very instrumental for the price of VGX. I think we'd see a stronger correlation in an increase of price. Right now, what we're seeing with Voyager is that current incentive system of holding over 10,000 Voyager tokens, it gets you a 1% interest boost. That's been good for the growth of VGX. We actually see a correlation in the amount of the VGX price increasing and the new accounts on Voyager coming onto the platform. So there's a nice correlation, but if they remove that tokenomics system and that incentive, that correlation will not remain. There will be no reason to hold VGX. And, in my opinion, I think they should take a page out of Celsius's book, because what Celsius has done is, they've made their token holders quite wealthy.
I don't understand. It feels like they've basically ate their own lunch in a way with the token. And the more I learned about the new proposed tokenomics, I was done. I've been a strong proponent of VGX. I've written it down a few times, wrote it up a few times, but I'm done. I cashed out.
I just bought my last tranche last week, Ryan. I feel the same way you do, my man.
I cashed out and I moved on. I'm on to greener pastures. I'm a dot man now. We'll see how that
goes. we have now formed the dot army over here.
Yeah.
And I want to make a point as well, because we are huge fans of Voyager, but what the market is clearly telling us is that VGX is not a priority. If you want exposure to the company Voyager, you must own the stock on the Canadian Stock Exchange, because it's increased over 100% in the last month. But VGX really hasn't done anything. Owning VGX is not having exposure to the company Voyager. So, we're not going to complain, not going to be salty or anything, but listen to what the market's telling us and adapt.
Listen, I think any one of the three of us would give Steve and Co a plug. I mean, listen, Voyager's one of the great apps to trade on. CJ has business relations with him over at Market Rebellion. Ryan Gorman's crypto trading life depends on Voyager. I'm not allowed to use it because I'm in New York, but I highly recommend go to Voyager, sign up. It's easy. It's a great platform. And unlike Coinbase, doesn't go down.
And if you use the promo code Rebel20.
That's not entirely true. Voyager did go down. It went down for a whole day, but that was like the first time
it did. We covered that. We did. It covered that on the last episode. There was a denial of service attack against them. They handled it the way they handled it and came out the other side, hopefully for the better. I believe it was their first one. So
I do too. Yeah. I mean, and to be clear, I am a huge fan of Voyager. As Alex said, I do all of my long-term holding and trading on there, and I think it's a great platform. It's the best one I've come across so far in terms of user interface experience and what have you, just ease of use. So yeah, absolutely a fan of Voyager, but I dumped the token. Bye.
And with that, we're gonna wrap this this episode up. We have another episode coming out today following this one. But guys, everybody watching, guys and gals, happy new year, happy trading, and thank you for paying any sort of attention to us. We really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your holiday.
Happy New Year.